Thank you, Ralph. Hall of Famers, inductees, baseball officials. God almighty, it's crunch time now. You know, this is, I think we all know what a wonderful day this is. It might be a little bit more special than many of us up here realize, because today is a birth date of a man who epitomized what being a Major League baseball player was all about. He was an opponent of many of these fellows sitting on the stage. He was a teammate to some, and he was a friend to all of us. He would have been 82 years old today. He was a captain of the Brooklyn Dodgers, Harold Pee Wee Reese. Let's not forget him. It's been difficult for me the whole weekend to feel like I'm a part of all of this. As a famous former friend of mine used to say, it's like putting earrings on a hog. We all have people to thank for helping us get here, and I'll get to that in a moment, but there's one person I want to thank right out of the chute, and that's a guy that Ralph mentioned a moment ago, Al Michaels. Had Al not left after the '73 season to go to the San Francisco Giants, I wouldn't be here today. So Al, wherever you are, thank you very much. As a kid growing up in Portsmouth, Virginia, this was before the impact that television obviously has had in the last 25 or so years. I used to listen at night to people like Chuck Thompson, who did the Oriole games, Bob Prince, who did the Pittsburgh Pirate games, and Arch McDonald, who was a Frick Award winner here last year. The man who made the biggest impression upon me, and I mention his name periodically to people, and some of them look very questioningly at me because a lot of people have never heard of a fellow by the name of Nat Albright. He recreated Brooklyn Dodger baseball games with the blessings of the O'Malley family back in the 50s. I didn't even know what a recreation was. He was so good at what he did that it was 2 or 3 years after the fact that I found out he was recreating those games. But he made such an impression upon me and planted a subconscious seed that a couple of years ago, I got his home phone number in Northern Virginia, and I called him. And I told him who I was, and I said, I just want you to know what a tremendous impression and impact you made upon me as a kid back in the 50s. I would hope that someday some young guy would do the same for me. I never really played the game of baseball. The highest I ever got was Little League. That was my best shot. I played for a team called Chubby's. It was a restaurant. And they put me in right field because back in those days, that was the position that you could do the least damage in, because I could not play. Well, they couldn't even hide me in right field. I was standing out there one day playing the Kiwanis Club, and I was standing out there, and my two girlfriends, Lynn Garner and Diane Gooden, were standing over in foul territory, and I was talking to them. And my good friend Johnny Hathaway hit a high fly ball to right field. I didn't see it coming. I misjudged it and went for a 3-base hit. Girls were more important to me back then, and I was on the bench the next day. I then decided I wanted to be an actor, but that didn't work out either. I had one of the lead roles in the senior class play at Woodrow Wilson High School in Portsmouth in 1960, and the play was entitled The Remarkable Incident at Carson Corners. And it was a play where you had to go off stage periodically with the lights out in the auditorium, change a jacket, and come back on. There were a lot of flashbacks. Well, just prior to the climactic ending, where I had a 5 or 6 minute soliloquy to make, I went off the stage in pitch black, changed clothes, walked back on the stage, and the most remarkable thing about that play was I fell off of it. When the lights came back up, I was laying in the orchestra pit. I decided to become a broadcaster as the least hazardous occupation I could come up with, and it's turned out to be the right decision. As I've said before, I have people to thank, so bear with me. Some names you'll recognize and some you won't. But these are people who have been very, very important to me, and had it not been for them, I would not be here today. My uncle, Tom Skipwith, back in the 50s, he used to take me to the Portsmouth Stadium every night to watch the Portsmouth Merrimacs play in the old Piedmont League. That was when my baseball education began. A baseball coach at Pfeiffer College in Meisenheimer, North Carolina, Joe Farabee, who also coached the American Legion team in Salisbury. It was games that I broadcast on WSTP radio in that town, and Joe taught me an awful lot about this game. My friend from home, Billy Skeeter, who mentioned my name to Jack Prince, who was a station manager of WTAR Radio in Norfolk. And they brought me out of Carolina to work in Virginia. Dave Rosenfield was then, is now, the general manager of the AAA club in Norfolk, who allowed me for 3 years to broadcast the Tidewater games and who thought enough of my work to recommend me to the Reds when Al Michaels left after the '73 season. Names you heard George mention a moment ago: Bob Howsam, Dick Wagner, and God rest his soul, Jim Winters, for taking a chance on somebody nobody knew to succeed Al in Cincinnati. I'll always be indebted to them. All the managers, from Hank Bauer and Johnny Antonelli at AAA to Sparky, to my dear friend John McNamara, and all the way to Lou Piniella and Tony Perez, Davey Johnson, Ray Knight, and my buddy Jack McKeon, and all the coaches that worked under them for also helping me in my education of this wonderful game. And all the players over the last 27 years, even the guys who didn't particularly care for my style, and some still don't today, but especially the guys that are here. Two who are already in, Johnny Bench and Joe Morgan, and one who's being inducted today, Tony Perez. Very vital parts of the Big Red Machine. They were not only business associates, for want of a better term, they were also, and still are today, very good friends. And those from that team who should be in the hall and aren't. Bob Howsam, who built 2 world championship organizations in St. Louis and Cincinnati. Davey Concepcion, who was a preeminent shortstop of his time. And yes, by God, Peter Edward Rose. The only radio partner I've ever had. It's amazing that we've been together for 27 years. It's awfully nice to work with a living legend, and that's what I've done since 1974. Whatever success I've had, I willingly and gratefully share it with the old left-hander Joe Nuxall. I can never begin to repay what he has meant to me. He's been a mentor, and he's also been a very, very wonderful friend. Thank you, Joe, for so much of the things that you've taught me since that first year together. WLW Radio, our flagship station on the Reds Radio Network. And especially people like Bill Dennison and Dave Armbruster and Joe Frederick, Tom Horan, Mike Kinney, Andy Furman, and all the people there. It does make a difference broadcasting on a 50,000-watt Clear Channel radio station every night. And all the media in Cincinnati and around the country who've been so awfully good to me. The Reds organization, led by Chief Operating Officer John Allen, and its employees, from Bernie Stowe and his family to Jenny Camp and Joyce Farr and Rob Butcher and all the rest of the folks in that organization, and the club's ownerships over the years, Lou and Louise Nippert, and Bill and Jim Williams, and Marge Schott, to the current owners of Carl Lindner and Bill Reich and George Strike and all the others. They've been the absolute best to me. And then special friends like Reuben Katz and J. David Martin, Joel Moskowitz and Cal Levy and Danny Manella, Buck Dotson, Dave Stauffer and Andy Weiss. People who have been very, very important to me, and now to my family. And boy, I've got one of the good ones. My dad is no longer with us, but he'd be awfully, awfully proud to be here today. He was a great baseball fan. He was a Ted Williams fan. He made me not wait almost every morning to get up and see what the Splendid Splinter had done the night before. He would have been thrilled to have been here today. My mom is here, thank God. And I've gotten as much joy out of watching her enjoy this weekend as anybody. I had great parents who allowed us to feel our way along and discover what we wanted to do with our lives without any pressure. My brother Tom, I thought so much of him, I named my only son after him. Successful in the business world, far more intelligence than I could ever muster, and he's always been very, very supportive of me. My in-laws, John and Gloria Robinson, are here, my sister-in-law, Kyle, and my kids. My son, Tom, who has had a broadcast career that has absolutely blown mine away. He'll be up here one day. You can take that to the bank. And we'll welcome in a new member of the family in November because Tom's here with his fiancée, Polly Rassi. My oldest daughter, Dawn, big success in the business world, a bigger success as a wife to my son-in-law, Dave, and the two greatest grandsons in the world, and Cal and Dylan is tapped out right over there. My youngest daughter, Ashley, probably our biggest challenge, but a young lady who's turned out to be sensational, and she too, in college at Ohio U, is beginning to prepare now for a career in sports, and she'll be awfully good at it. You're truly blessed if you have good kids, and I do. Sparky once said to my wife, Sherry, "You deserve a medal for being married to him." He was right then, and he is now. I think all of us up here know it takes a special kind of woman to take care of things because of the amount of time that we spend on the road. And Sherry is that special kind of woman. I'm sure I don't say it enough how thankful I am, but I am. I have a great family, and I love you all very much. Lastly, the great fans of the Cincinnati Reds. How great you have been to us over these many years. Your kind of loyalty can never be repaid, inviting us into your homes every day of the baseball season for over a quarter of a century and approving of our work. You are absolutely, unequivocally the best, and we love you. If I've missed anyone, I'm sorry. If you've enriched my life and made me a better person, I thank you, and hopefully you know who you are. In closing, I'd like to thank my good friend Rick Stowe for his support, and also a friend of mine and Mr. King's, the inimitable Harold Lauder. Finally, this one belongs to you. Thank you.